A blue-haired woman joyfully embraces a field of beautiful flowers as a white-haired man watches. She happily thinks this is a wonderful view to see before she dies. The white-haired man with red eyes warns her not to complain about the pain later. Confidently, she asks if Levi will just help her again. Levi watches from behind as the blue-haired woman smiles in the field of flowers. Her smile is radiant as she holds up a flower, identified as Stella's smile. A hand with black nails holds a petal, thinking this was only meant to kill time. Levi watches Stella in the ethereal field, his back turned to the viewer. Night falls on a grand and opulent mansion. Inside, the ailing Stella lies in bed as her stepmother, Morgana, scoffs that she's still alive. Her stepsister, Tiara, gleefully adds that the doctor says it won't be long now. Powerless to speak, Stella endures the humiliation as Morgana and Tiara laugh at her bedside. She remembers her birth into the loving arms of her parents, Marquess and Marchioness Crowley. A reflection shows her as a frail child, confined to her bed. Despite her illness, she was happy, showered with affection by her parents. Tragedy struck as her father grieved over her mother's coffin in the pouring rain. After her mother's death, Stella grew lonely as her father became distant. A year ago, her father remarried, and though unhappy, Stella accepted it for his sake. Then, a violent carriage accident occurred in the snow. Stella stands at her father's funeral, realizing he died in the crash. Tiara panics that with their father dead, the inheritance will go to Stella, ending their life of luxury. Frustrated, Tiara screams that there was no point in her mother remarrying. Morgana smirks, calmly reassuring her sweet Tiara not to worry. Hiding behind a door, Stella overhears Morgana confidently state that she will probably die soon anyway. As Morgana and Tiara cackle that the Crowley house will be theirs, Stella is overcome with anguish. Morgana and Tiara stand over her bed, with Morgana noting that she could pass on today. Leaning close, Tiara sadistically asks her dying stepsister, "Isn't that great?" They tell her to leave the house to them and die in peace. Stella reflects on her life, sick and stuck in bed, with only books for company. She laments that the house her beloved parents treasured is being stolen from her. Overwhelmed by despair, she coughs up a spray of blood. Lying bloodied and in tears, she reaches out, crying out in frustration. Her face is a mask of pure, desperate agony in her final moments. Reaching toward the window, she thinks with defiance that she wouldn't let them take anything from her. A brief vision shows her sitting peacefully at a sunlit desk, surrounded by books. Her final wish is to fall in love, but a cloaked figure with a scythe appears at her window. The cloaked figure enters her room, and she looks up, terrified, asking who it is. The figure sighs, revealing a man with light blue-green hair. Wielding a scythe, he laments that today is another boring day. Looking up at him, Stella thinks he's beautiful and asks if he's human. He reads from a scroll, detailing the life of Stella Crowley, age 17, born with a frail body. He continues reading about her tragic fate, deceased parents, and a home usurped by her stepfamily. With a cruel smirk, he looks down at her and calls her a pathetic woman. He thinks that he would never want to live such a boring, humiliating life, and her eyes snap open. Raising his scythe, he announces it's time to take her soul. With a sudden burst of energy, Stella sits up and furiously demands to know who he is to call her pathetic. She admonishes the stranger for barging into her room with a dangerous weapon. Her anger halts as she remembers he said something about taking her life. Her expression turns to dawning horror as she begins to understand. Looking at the red-eyed man, she asks if he could be the Grim Reaper. The white-haired man leans down, astonished, asking if she can see him. In a flash, Stella recoils in shock as blood splatters from her mouth. The Grim Reaper leans over Stella's bed, asking in surprise if she actually can see him. Lying weakly, she remembers hearing that humans near death can sometimes see Grim Reapers. He smirks with amusement, admitting it's the first time he's ever seen it happen. Staring up from her bed, she realizes with horror that he truly is a Grim Reaper. He confirms her fears, stating plainly that he has come to take her life. With his scythe at her throat, she thinks she'd only read about them and never thought they were real. As he holds her in a swirl of purple energy, she sees her fate, to die by his hand. Panicked, she desperately searches for a way to escape her deadly predicament. He holds her chin, commenting that her defiant expression is entertaining to see at the moment of death. With glowing red eyes, the Grim Reaper admits that she has amused him. As a token of gratitude for the entertainment, he promises to kill her in one swift go. Filled with despair, Stella cries out in her mind that she doesn't want to die yet. The Grim Reaper stands alone under the moonlight, sighing that today is as boring as ever. Leaning over her with the scroll of her life, he scoffs that he'd never want to live such a boring existence. His cruel smile returns as he repeats that her defiance did entertain him a little. A fiery determination sparks in Stella's eye as an idea forms. With a sudden burst of strength, she grabs his scythe and shouts for 3 years. The Grim Reaper pauses, looking down at her in complete confusion. An ancient text reveals that Grim Reapers, as gods of life and death, have the power to prolong a person's life. Sitting up, Stella holds up 3 fingers and makes an offer: her life after 3 years. She explains that in 3 years, she will receive her title and save the Crowley family from her stepmother. Realizing he hates boredom, she asks if her struggle for survival entertains him. She boldly promises that if he lets her live, he will never feel bored again. A small laugh escapes his lips, quickly turning into a full-throated "ah-ha-ha." Amused, he asks if she is seriously trying to negotiate with a Grim Reaper. With a look of resolve, Stella confirms she is, thinking she cannot die yet. The Grim Reaper throws his head back and laughs with genuine delight. Leaning intimately close, he calls her a very interesting human. He confesses that his entire existence has always been plagued by boredom. Looking down at her with a glint in his eye, he agrees to her wish and will form a contract. Stunned but hopeful, Stella asks if he will truly prolong her life. He warns her that a contract, once made, is absolute and cannot be broken. Deciding the terms don't matter, he agrees to a contract with her on the spot. Pressing a finger to his lips, he urges her to decide quickly, admitting he hates to wait. Stella stares back, her gaze filled with unwavering resolve. She closes her eyes, cementing her decision. With a hand over her heart, she agrees to the deal. She accepts the contract, motivated by the thought of thwarting her wicked stepfamily. Facing him directly, she declares that she is ready to make a contract. A sharp, eager smile spreads across the Grim Reaper's face. He raises his scythe, clearly pleased with this new, interesting turn of events. As they stand within a glowing purple sigil, he begins to recite the terms of their pact. Holding her close, he announces that he will now receive the proof of their contract. He seals their agreement with a kiss. Licking blood from his lips, he declares their contract has been officially formed. A new day dawns upon the sunlit Crowley mansion. Stella lies peacefully in her bed, bathed in the morning light. Waking up surrounded by a vision of beautiful white flowers, she wonders if it's morning. Waking up confused, Stella tries to remember yesterday. A vision of the kiss returns as she realizes she fainted. A voice announces she's awake as the Grim Reaper waits. Terrified, she warns the Grim Reaper to stay away. He laughs, reminding her of their binding contract. She hesitantly asks him why he kissed her. From her books, she understood that a kiss proves mutual love between couples. The Grim Reaper's expression turns serious. He dismissively explains it was necessary for the contract. He changes the subject, asking about her health. She realizes with a start that her cough is gone. A strange lack of fatigue surprises her. Overjoyed, she leaps up, wondering if she's finally healthy. He clarifies her health is temporary, not a cure. Confused, she asks him to explain further. She understands she needs his life force to survive. He simply confirms her conclusion is correct. Even with conditions, this health is a miracle to her. With this new strength, she resolves to protect her inheritance from her stepfamily. Ha! He leans in, curious about her plans. He tells her the stage is now set for her. He demands to know how she will entertain him. Flustered, she pushes him away, shouting that she understands. The day begins at the Grand Crowley Mansion. A bluebird sings among the blooming roses. Feeling light as a feather, she walks the halls. She spots her stepfamily on the balcony ahead. A maid notices Stella approaching and expresses surprise. The maid greets her with a condescending sneer. The maid mocks her faint presence, asking why she's there. Stella recognizes her as Tiara's personal maid. She recalls how the servants turned against her after her father's death. But she vows she is no longer that weak person. The maid continues to taunt her about her weakness. She cruelly suggests Stella should die like her father. The maid sneers that his death was ridiculous. Pang! Stella slaps the maid across the face. Stunned, the maid falls to the ground in disbelief. Stella asserts her authority as the next family head. She coldly demands to know who the maid thinks she is. Her eyes blaze as she orders the maid to be silent. Walking away, she declares this her first order as the head. She dismisses the maid from the household immediately. The shocked maid begs, thinking it's a joke. Stella delivers a final warning: silence or imprisonment. Eek! The terrified maid is left trembling in her wake. Morgana and Tiara watch in disbelief, wondering why Stella is still alive. They stare in shock, completely baffled by the situation. Nearby, the Grim Reaper watches the scene. Amused. Pleased, Stella considers her first move a success. Stella notes that her hands are still trembling from the confrontation. Clenching her fists, she resolves that she needs to get stronger. The Grim Reaper suddenly appears, grabbing her chin and asking what happened to her confidence. Stunned, she looks up at him and asks if he saw the entire exchange. Realizing no one else reacted, she concludes she is the only one who can see him. He smirks, commenting that her performance was pretty good entertainment. She stammers, confused by his sudden appearance and comment. Suddenly feeling weak, she wonders if the life force is already gone and calls out to him. Blushing, she realizes she will die if she doesn't receive his life force regularly. He sighs, reminding her that feeling better doesn't mean she's been cured. Flustered, she acknowledges this and wonders how he can be so calm about her life or death situation. Touching her lips, she blushes intensely, remembering that their contract kiss was her first. Taking a deep breath, she steels her resolve, deciding she has no other choice. She walks toward him, thinking it is shameful to do this just to survive. After a moment's hesitation, she looks at him with determination. She closes her eyes and initiates a kiss to get more life force.
Huh? He recoils in complete shock as she covers her mouth in embarrassment.
She explains that she assumed a kiss was how she received the life force before. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he confirms that to live, she needs to kiss him. Her face freezes in horror at the implication. Panicked, she realizes this must be done repeatedly and wonders why it has to be a kiss. In a flashback, the Grim Reaper internally clarifies he only kissed her to get the blood needed for the contract. He internally debates telling her that a kiss isn't actually necessary to transfer life force. He smirks, deciding it would be far more interesting to let her believe the lie. Later, Tiara excitedly asks her mother Morgana if she heard the news. Tiara reports in disbelief that Stella is acting completely fine, wondering what's going on. Morgana calmly sips her tea, pondering Stella's sudden change. Annoyed, she thinks it would have been much easier if Stella had just died. A hand reaches out, touching Tiara's face. Morgana smiles with cruel intent, announcing a change of plans. Two maids look out a sunlit window. In her room, Stella washes her face in a basin. A maid offers her a towel as she addresses the assembled staff. She coldly dismisses all of them for now. Stella sits calmly and elegantly on a chaise lounge. Eek! The maids outside her room are terrified, with one dropping a box in fear. Bang! The double doors to her room are slammed shut. Stella reflects on her past actions and their consequences. She recalls how she convinced everyone she was the rightful heir. She finds it amusing that the staff is now so afraid of her. The Grim Reaper leans in close, amusedly asking if everyone hates her now. Startled, she snaps back, asking whose fault he thinks that is. As a maid eavesdrops, Stella tells the invisible Grim Reaper to behave himself. At dinner, she complains that she couldn't possibly stay quiet with him bothering her.
She explains that rumors are spreading about her miraculous revival, claiming she made a contract with a demon.
He casually corrects her, a reaper, not a demon. But she insists that's not the point. She panics about what will happen if even worse rumors begin to circulate. The Grim Reaper leans back, musing on how troublesome humans are. With a decisive look, he decides there is no other choice. A pair of polished dress shoes steps forward, glowing with magical energy. Levi materializes in a new, elegant form. Stella stares in wide-eyed disbelief. He presents his handsome form, asking if she approves. Stella stammers, shocked he can take human form. She thinks to herself that he's a perfect butler. She looks on, still processing his transformation. He teases her, saying she'll make him blush. Flustered, Stella tells him to stop lying. He smirks, insisting that he never lies. He ominously states she has only 3 years to live. He muses on the unknown cost of their contract. He then demands that she entertain him. He reaffirms his promise as she reluctantly agrees. Still, she remains lost in her thoughts. She quietly wonders about his true motives as a reaper. Suddenly, an interesting idea comes to her. She wonders if kissing his human form transfers life energy. Justifying her question, she reminds him her life is at stake. She nervously finishes, saying she felt she had to ask. He leans closer, considering her question. He gently holds her chin, leaning in close. He moves closer, about to speak to her. Suddenly, a knight bursts in, shouting Stella's name. Startled, Stella turns toward the sudden interruption.
She shoves Levi away, calling out Jill's name in surprise. She asks the concerned knight why he is here.
Without a word, Jill pulls her into a tight embrace. Still in his arms, she asks again, "Jill?" He embraces her tightly as she questions his presence. She wonders why he's back from his expedition.
He explains he rushed back after hearing she was critically ill.
She awkwardly explains that she's feeling better now. Ignoring her words, he sweeps her up into his arms. He insists she's still recovering and must rest in bed. She protests, insisting she's fine and doesn't need coddling. Refusing her protests, he gently places her on the bed. He tucks her in, chiding her for always pushing herself. He gently pats her head, asking her to listen to him. His name is formally revealed, Gilfreit Lancaster. A flashback reveals their long history as close childhood friends. He is now an esteemed Royal Guard knight. He sits by her bed, expressing his relief that she's okay. He earnestly states there's no point if she isn't here. She smiles, fondly recalling his overprotective nature. His determined eyes reveal a deep, blushing emotion. He calls her name, and she asks what's on his mind. He confesses he became a knight solely to protect her. Confused by his sudden intensity, she's not sure how to react. He explains he might receive a title for his recent achievements. She happily grabs his hand, congratulating him on the amazing news. Jill gently holds Stella's hand, asking for her thoughts on marriage. Still in bed, a surprised Stella looks at him, asking, "Huh?" A flustered Jill runs a hand through his hair, unable to finish his thought. Stella watches him, confused by his sudden nervousness. He covers his mouth, trying to gather his courage to speak. He remains flustered, unable to look her in the eye. Finally meeting her gaze, he earnestly begins to ask his question. From the side, Levi looks on with disdain, finding the scene boring. Levi looms over them, angered that the mere humans are ignoring him. He steps forward, getting their attention by calling Stella Milady. Levi smiles sharply, informing Stella it's time for her to change. A cartoonishly surprised Jill and Stella react as Levi smiles sweetly. Jill stands, confronting the stranger and asking who he is. Stella quickly tries to de-escalate, asking Jill to hear her out. She happily introduces Levi as the great new butler she just hired. Levi bows gracefully, formally introducing himself as Lady Stella's personal butler. Gilfreit Lancaster is formally introduced with a stoic portrait. Levi formally addresses Sir Lancaster, asking for forgiveness for his rudeness.
He whispers a warning to Jill about speaking to an undressed lady.
A shocked Jill protests that he is Stella's childhood friend. Levi dismisses the protest, insisting that Stella needs to change first. Taking Levi's hand, Stella apologizes and asks Jill to wait. As Levi leads her away, Stella thinks he has strange common sense for a Reaper. She tells him he acts just like a real butler. Holding a dress, Levi asks how many years of experience she thinks he has. Taking the dress, Stella acknowledges that he is a god, after all. As Stella wonders about other Reaper abilities, Levi smirks knowingly. From off-screen, Jill calls out Stella's name. He approaches, wanting to continue their talk, and telling her to take her time. Stella looks back at a nervous Jill, waiting for him to speak. Confused by his hesitation, she asks him what he means. Levi suddenly grabs her face, scolding her for looking away from him. He leans in with a sinister smile, declaring that it's almost time. He pulls her into a sudden, forceful kiss, shocking her. He deepens the kiss as she is surrounded by a magical floral aura. Her eyes snap open in shock, wondering why he suddenly kissed her. She grips his suit, trying to push him away. Realizing he's not budging, Her resistance falters.
Jill stands frozen in the doorway, calling her name in disbelief.
Levi pulls back slightly from the kiss, tauntingly asking if something is wrong. A flustered Stella pushes him, frantically thinking that Jill is right there. Levi stands back with a smug, satisfied expression. Later, the three have tea, with Stella thinking it's best not to upset Jill.
Jill smiles, eager to talk about his recent expedition.
Stella sips her tea, trying to appear calm and collected. Her calm facade breaks as she inwardly panics about the kiss.
The memory of the kiss flashes in her mind as she wonders what it was for.
Flustered, she reasons it was for life force, but notes it's too soon. She peeks at Levi, wondering what kind of cycle he operates on.
Annoyed, she thinks he has terrible timing as he smirks in the background. Stella thinks her heart can't take any more surprises. Jill calls out to a startled Stella, trying to get her attention.
He asks if she's unwell, as she seems distracted. He points out that she has been spacing out.
Stella apologizes with a smile, asking what they were discussing.
Jill declares that he is serious about his proposal. A confused Stella looks up as Levi stands behind her. He leans forward earnestly, asking her to think about it. Stella remains silent, at a loss for words. A flustered Jill blushes deeply. Standing to leave, Jill promises he will come again.
As he departs, Stella quietly wonders about marriage.
Suddenly, Stella declares she has found the answer. Levi asks what has gotten into her all of a sudden. She recalls her 3-year contract with the Reaper. She realizes she cannot protect her house if she dies. The scene transitions with a golden, celestial design. An introduction is made to the Regmere Empire. A narration explains the strict order of royal succession. Succession passes from the firstborn to younger children. If there are no children, spouses or siblings inherit the title. Stella explains her adopted stepsister, Tiara, is next in line. She fears Tiara and her mother will take everything if she dies. Levi smirks, asking what she plans to do. Stella pauses, gripping the couch with resolve. She brightly announces she'll find a husband within 3 years. She imagines having a child to secure the line of succession. She tells Levi she'll stay healthy by receiving his life force.
With a brilliant smile, she declares she can have a child.
She excitedly asks Levi if her idea is brilliant. Levi looks dumbfounded, wondering what nonsense she's come up with. He imagines her being betrayed by the one she chooses. He envisions her falling into complete despair. He thinks watching her suffer should be very entertaining. Levi tells her to do as she wishes, feigning indifference. He gives a knowing, sinister smirk as he looks back. Renewed with purpose, Stella happily gathers books as Levi watches. A maid cries on the floor before a seated woman. The woman and Tiara tell the maid not to sulk. The woman states that she is counting on the maid. Leaning in, she delivers a chilling, unspoken threat. She smiles cruelly, warning the maid to do as she says. She grabs the terrified maid's chin, forcing eye contact. The scene shifts to a serene boat on a blossom-filled lake. On the boat, Stella excitedly says it's her first time. She leans over, marveling at the rare fish in the lake. She excitedly points out a swan she recognizes from a book.
Levi compliments her on her extensive knowledge.
Stella muses that a tea party on a boat feels like a dream. The group prepares for tea on the ornate boat.
A blue-haired girl happily exclaims that she is so happy her guest has returned.
A kindly maid with freckles and brown hair stands before her. The maid, equally happy, says she is truly glad to be serving Lady Stella again. Stella recalls that the maid, Emma, has served her since she was a child. She remembers how her stepmother dismissed Emma after her father passed away. But now, to her joy, Emma has returned. Emma serves Stella and the Grim Reaper a delicious-looking meal on the balcony.
Looking out over the water, Stella decides to ask Emma a question.
She asks if Emma was back at her family home before returning.
While serving dessert, Emma smiles and reassures her, much to Stella's relief.
The Grim Reaper sits silently beside Stella, clad in an ornate suit.
Emma approaches with a tea cart, announcing that the tea is ready.
She offers a cup of tea to the stoic Grim Reaper. Stella smiles, saying it has been a while since she had tea made by Emma. The Grim Reaper suddenly leans over Stella's shoulder, his expression serious. Startled, Stella looks up and asks him what's wrong. He declares that his lady is the next head of the House of Crowley.
Holding the teacup toward Emma, he orders her to drink it first, as a precaution. Emma stares back, her face a mask of pure shock.
She stammers nervously as Stella and the Grim Reaper watch her intently. Leaning back, the Grim Reaper asks if she won't drink it. Or rather, he asks with a knowing look if she can't drink it. Stella angrily demands to know what has gotten into him all of a sudden. Announcing he will make things clear, the Grim Reaper takes the cup himself. As Stella screams for him to wait, he calmly brings the cup to his lips and drinks. Emma covers her mouth in horror while Stella can only watch, stunned.
A trickle of blood runs from his smiling lips as he declares that the tea is poison. Stella and Emma both flinch in absolute terror at the revelation.
He explains it was a dose lethal enough to kill a human instantly. Pouring the remaining liquid out, he says if she had drunk it,
she would have been sent to the next world in an instant.
Staring in horror, Stella struggles to comprehend why Emma would do this. "Monster!" Emma screams in terror before turning to flee.
Stella watches her run, still lost in disbelief.
As Emma flees, Stella can only think of how precious her maid is to her. The Grim Reaper smirks sinisterly, preparing to act. Thwip! Thorny, shadowy vines erupt from the water below.
Yeah, the vines immediately wrap around the screaming maid.
As Emma is hoisted into the air, Stella screams for him to let her go. He scoffs at her nerve, reminding her that she's alive thanks to him and that betrayers deserve punishment. "Of course I'm grateful," she cries, "but this isn't what I wanted." Tusk. He looks away with an annoyed expression. Touching his cheek, he dismisses her compassion as dull. The vines begin dragging a terrified Emma down toward the water.
Stella cries out Emma's name, watching helplessly from the balcony.
Collapsing against the railing, she demands to know what kind of being he is. "I'm saving her," she declares, climbing over the railing. "Emma is precious to me." He states plainly that he cannot understand why she would save the human who tried to kill her.
"Even so," she shouts down at him defiantly.
Stella passionately insists that Emma would never do such a thing without a reason. Stella dives off the balcony, determined to save Emma. Plunging into the depths, she vows not to let Emma go. Sinking deeper, she repeats her vow to save Emma at any cost. What? The Grim Reaper watches in utter disbelief. He stands alone, calling her a reckless fool. He reflects on humanity's self-centered nature. Convinced belief only leads to betrayal. Underwater, Stella desperately reaches for the ensnared Emma. Racing against time, she swims frantically toward Emma. She grabs the thorny vines, trying to break them. Finally, she embraces the freed Emma, thinking she's safe. But just as she does, a vine ensnares her own ankle. The thorny vine yanks her down into the abyss. Tangled and trapped, she covers her mouth, unable to breathe. With her last effort, she pushes Emma toward the surface. Relieved, she watches Emma drift safely upward. Emma floats unconsciously toward the light, now safe. Her own strength failing, Stella struggles against the vines. She sinks into the darkness, Unable to go on, Emma breaks the surface, gasping for air. She looks back in panic toward the balcony.
Calling her troublesome, the Grim Reaper leaps into action. He plunges into the water after her. As he approaches, she laments that such a trivial thing could kill her. She drifts into unconsciousness as he reflects on human fragility.
He moves in close, his face inches from hers. Underwater, he gives her the kiss of life force. Holding her securely, he swims for the surface. Her eye snaps open, revealing a fiery, inhuman pupil.
Huh? She finds herself back in her room. Waking in bed, she sees a worried Emma kneeling beside her. A crying Emma hugs her, overjoyed she's safe, and thinking she's so sorry.
Surprised, Stella tries to calm the emotional maid.
Smiling gently, she reassures Emma, saying she must have had a reason. Emma reveals that Morgana and Tiara threatened her little brother to force her hand. Horrified, Stella declares their actions unforgivable.
Emma confesses her love for Stella, but couldn't let her brother die.
Stella takes her hands and promises to handle her brother's safety.
Touched, a tearful Emma thanks her for her kindness. Enraged that they used Emma, Stella resolves to act. She vows that her stepmother and stepsister will pay for their crimes.
Emma runs to get a physician as the Grim Reaper watches stoically.
He stands impassively, scythe resting on his shoulder. He approaches her bed, and she asks if he apologized to Emma.
Huh?
Indignant, he asks why he would ever apologize. He reveals he simply erased Emma's memory of the event to solve the problem.
She shouts that he's missing the point. Emma could have died.
He calls her insane for saving her own attempted murderer. She falls silent, unable to immediately respond. Placing a hand on her heart, she resolves to believe in Emma.
A vision appears of a kind, brown-haired knight and his smiling parents. She remembers Emma's kind and smiling face.
The Grim Reaper states he has faith in her too. He dismisses her trust in a Grim Reaper as nonsense. She confidently asks why he saved her then. She points out the underwater kiss wasn't in the contract, and he's stunned she remembers. Smiling warmly, she thanks Levi, saying she believed in him.
Flustered, he turns away and mutters, "Damn it."
He pauses by the window, silently reflecting on her words.
The scene transitions to the grand estate on a sunny day.
Emma stands before Stella, vowing to turn over a new leaf and devote herself to her lady.
With a stack of papers, Emma enthusiastically declares she'll find Stella the perfect marriage partner.
Stella smiles, reassured by Emma's devotion, while Emma thinks her lady is truly kind. Thump! A massive stack of documents hits the table as it's time to get to business. Emma proudly displays a list of all the young gentlemen who will attend the upcoming ball. A stunned Stella asks if Emma prepared all this, and Emma asks if any of them suit her taste. Pondering what her taste even is, Stella admits that meeting specific conditions is more important. She thoughtfully decides her first condition is finding someone who doesn't cheat. Emma excitedly reveals she's already found some potential candidates for her.
Yay! Both Stella and Emma cheer, pumped up and ready to head to the ball right away.
Crash! A vase of white flowers is violently shattered. Morgana screams in fury, while Tiara sits nearby, holding a letter. Tiara reads the report, annoyed that Stella has already secured the maid's loyalty by ensuring her brother's well-being. She worries that if Stella's influence continues to grow, they will be driven out of the household. Stomping on the broken vase, Morgana tells her daughter not to worry. She smirks cruelly announcing they can just use that trick again at the next ball. The scene shifts to a magnificent palace under a starry night sky. Dressed in an elegant gown, Stella enters the dazzling, crowded ballroom. She clasps her hands together, looking around in sparkling excitement. She gasps in shock, wondering why Levi is at the ball too.
He adjusts his monocle and casually asks if she would prefer he go home. He teases that she's the one needing regular kisses, making her blush and stammer.
He then pointedly asks if she needs an escort for the evening. After offering his hand, he smirks and tells her to find another man instead. Blushing and flustered, her heart pounding, she firmly takes his hand, retorting that she already knows that. He gracefully leads her onto the dance floor. A group of handsome young men wonders about the identity of the mysterious lady. They realize she is the beautiful young lady of the Crowley family, who was rumored to be ill. One gentleman muses that if she doesn't have a fiancé, he'll propose himself. Stella gets the distinct feeling that she's being stared at. She turns to find Levi watching her with a knowing smile. With newfound determination, she clenches her fist and declares, "Let the husband hunt begin." A man with gray-brown hair approaches, introduces himself, and politely asks for a word with Lady Stella. She agrees cheerfully, realizing this is her chance to ask all her questions. She immediately begins a rapid-fire interrogation, asking about his marriage criteria, willingness to marry into her family, and if he has ever cheated. Completely overwhelmed, the man stammers an excuse about an urgent matter. Whoosh! He flees as if his soul is leaving his body. She wonders what went wrong since she followed the book's manual, prompting Levi to ask just what kind of book she's reading. Unfazed, she eagerly calls out, "Next," and pulls Levi along. She approaches a new candidate, immediately asking about his marriage conditions and if he's willing to marry into her family. She asks another suitor if he'd prioritize his wife over his mother, but he flees, saying his mama is calling. With a sigh, she crosses him off her list, deciding he's a no-go. Levi calls out to his lady, a serious look on his face. He bluntly asks her if she actually knows what love is. Done. She brightly says she does, having learned everything she needs from books. She insists it's only proper to confirm each other's conditions first to avoid being rude.
His red eyes narrow in exasperation.
He sighs, thinking it's going to be a long night as he imagines her with a halo. Later, Stella stands alone on a beautiful balcony under the moonlight. She sighs in frustration, lamenting that she can't find anyone good. She reflects that hardly anyone seems to want to talk to her properly. Her eyes widen in sudden shock at something she sees. In the distance, a blue-haired man passionately kisses a red-haired woman. Poe! She covers her mouth, stunned and wondering if she's witnessing a lover's kiss. Doki doki! Her heart races as she realizes they're kissing in such an open place. Doki doki! Blushing, she peeks from behind a pillar, thinking it's far more passionate than she'd imagined. The blue-haired man suddenly turns his head, asking if she knows something. He's suddenly beside her, smirking and pointing out that it's not good to peek. He coolly states that he doesn't like it when people spy on others. Startled, she asks when he got there. He smiles playfully, teasing that she was watching them quite closely. Leaning in, he asks her if she's interested. He gently pulls her into his arms. He leans closer, promising he can be even more passionate than that. Bah! Stella recoils in utter shock. She asks if the woman he was just with was his lover. He responds with a non-committal and slightly mischievous, Flustered, she begins to explain herself. She declares that kissing is something you only do with someone you love. Hearing this, the man bursts out laughing. Confused and embarrassed, she asks him why he's laughing at her. He explains that he couldn't help it because she said something so innocent. "Are you calling me a fool?" she shouts, accusing him of having the dirty mind. He gently lifts her chin, silencing her. Leaning in close, he whispers that he could make her completely addicted to him. Placing her hands on his chest, she firmly says she must refuse. She points a finger at him, declaring she won't kiss anyone she doesn't truly love. With a cheerful wave, he says, "See you later," leaving her looking annoyed. Stomping away, she fumes that playboys are unacceptable and that she needs to be more careful. The scene returns to the lively, crowded ballroom. Leaning against a pillar with Levi, she feels exhausted and resolves to move on. An announcement begins, signaling the arrival of an important guest. His Imperial Highness, Prince Zayn Rejmir, makes his grand entrance. Stella looks over, her jaw dropping in complete shock.
Kya? A crowd of ladies, including a delighted Tiara, swoons and calls out Lord Zayn's name.
Stella can't believe the playboy from the balcony was actually royalty. She realizes she didn't recognize him because she's never attended a ball before. Two women shove each other, fighting to get closer to Lord Zayn. Zayn smoothly takes one woman's hand, warning her not to ruin her cute face by fighting.
Kya? The other women complain that his charm isn't fair.
A crowd of ladies clamors for Lord Zayn's affection.
The blue-haired woman panics, realizing she was rude to a royal. A man with white and green hair finds the scene unexpected. A smirking nobleman teases her about her taste in men. She begins to explain the true purpose of the ball. It's revealed the ball is to find a fiancé for the playboy Prince Zayn. She thoughtfully concludes his royal playboy status is a deal-breaker. She resolves to avoid royal entanglements to protect her family. Levi looks on, curious about her serious expression. Suddenly, a handsome man named Jill appears before her. Jill expresses his surprise, wishing he could have escorted Stella. Stella cheerfully introduces Levi as her personal butler. Jill clenches his fist, barely concealing his jealousy. Changing the subject, Stella asks why Jill is at the ball. He admits his parents are pressuring him to find a wife. Jill turns the tables, asking Stella for her reason. She brightly declares she's also looking for a marriage partner. A stunned Jill stammers, asking why she's looking. He recalls telling her to seriously consider marriage. She playfully reminds him it was his own suggestion. Horrified, Jill realizes his words have backfired spectacularly. He despairs, realizing she completely misunderstood his intentions. Stella cheerfully wishes the green-haired man luck and walks away. Jill watches her leave, a troubled look on his face. He impulsively reaches out and grabs her wrist. He pulls her back, his expression filled with urgency. He looks at her, a mixture of panic and resolve in his eyes. He calls her name and she turns to face him. His worried gaze remains fixed on her. Confused by his actions, she questions him. He flinches, startled by her direct question. He asks if this is her first time dancing at a ball. She confirms that it is, looking uncertain. He gently takes her hand, asking to lead the dance. He smiles confidently, reassuring her that he's experienced. They join the other couples on the dance floor. As they dance, she notes his earlier confidence. His trembling hand, however, betrays his nervousness. She realizes he's incredibly nervous despite his words. She recalls her own frailty, admitting she never properly learned to dance. He apologizes for his poor performance after inviting her. Sensing his gloom, she decides to salvage the moment. She calls his name, trying to get his attention. She reminds him they're just one couple in a huge crowd.
She encourages him to relax and just have fun with her. Her words work, and they agree to dance their hearts out.
Kya? She cries out joyfully as he spins her.
He effortlessly lifts her as she calls his name in delight. Her face is alight with pure, unadulterated joy. They share a warm, intimate moment on the dance floor. Jill recalls his decade-long love for a young, sick Stella. He trained relentlessly to become a knight worthy of her. He still holds the ring he bought to propose with someday. He knows she is unaware of his deep feelings. They share a joyful, if clumsy, dance at the ball. He sadly accepts his feelings have likely never reached her. He gazes at her, vowing not to let anyone take her.
Two women in the crowd gossip about the dancing pair.
They remark that their awful dancing is somehow adorable.
One woman is surprised to see the serious Lord Gilfreet smile so happily.
From the sidelines, Levi watches them with a cool expression.
He smirks, thinking their dance is clumsy.
As the dance concludes, the crowd applauds. She brightly thanks him, now confident for her next partner, shocking Jill. A troubled Jill asks if she's truly seeking a husband.
She confirms with a smile, determined to protect the Crowley family.
He looks at her intently, thinking, "Can't it be me?"
His unspoken question leaves her stunned.
He asks again in his mind if he could be her partner. Stella stares back, her eyes wide in disbelief. Flustered, she asks what he is talking about. Levi suddenly interrupts, asking for a moment.
Annoyed, Jill tells him he's in an important conversation.
Adjusting his monocle, Levi bluntly prepares to speak. He warns Jill to stop bringing shame upon his lady. Outraged, Jill tells the butler to know his place. Stella steps between them, asking Levi what has gotten into him. Taking her hand, Levi claims it's for her own good.
He smiles wickedly, declaring it's time for her re-education.
He pulls a protesting Stella away from the dance floor. He leads her out of the ballroom and into a moonlit garden. She struggles against his grip, questioning his sudden actions. He coldly asks about her ridiculous dance with Jill. She recalls him teasing her during dance practice. He touches her hair, declaring that he is kind, after all. Leaning in, he offers to teach his hopeless student again.
A confused Stella can only ask, "Huh?" The scene shifts to the beautiful, moonlit palace gardens.
Levi and Stella begin to dance alone under the stars. As they dance, Stella thinks about the situation.
She muses that dancing with a reaper feels strange.
She looks up at him, complimenting his excellent dancing.
He calls her hopeless despite his instruction, making her sigh.
She argues that a teacher should be more motivating.
He asks if she doesn't feel ashamed of her performance.
He scolds her for flaunting herself with Jill. Stella smiles happily, saying it was fun because of Jill. Her answer earns a dismissive "huh" from Levi.
He scoffs at Jill's poor dancing skills.
She asks him why he's suddenly being so mean. Levi looks on with a slightly bewildered smile.
He dips Stella while dancing, pointing out that her pitiful moves won't attract any decent men.
He calls it advice from her teacher, but she retorts that he should be praising her instead. She smiles brightly, asking if she hasn't improved.
Annoyed, Levi dismisses her words as nonsense.
While walking outside, Stella says she has been wondering something. She looks up at him, cautiously asking if he's angry. He scoffs, telling her not to be ridiculous. She insists his face clearly says he's grumpy. He denies it, claiming a reaper wouldn't get angry over a girl, but she calls him a liar. She demands to know the reason, but he just calls her persistent. As she insists she needs to know, he angrily tells her to shut up. Dejected, Stella mutters that she would have preferred dancing with Jill. Levi suddenly grabs her arm.
He pulls her close, whispering that this is all her fault. He kisses her passionately amidst a garden of glowing flowers.
From a balcony above, Prince Zayn watches the couple depart.
He swirls his wine with a contemptuous smirk.
Seeing Stella's defiant face reflected in his glass, he muses that he thought she was pure.
He smiles, admitting she's more capable than he gave her credit for.
He pulls her close, whispering that this is all her fault. He kisses her passionately amidst a garden of glowing flowers.
As they kiss, she struggles to speak.
She pushes him away, shouting for him to wait a minute.
Panically, she covers her mouth, asking what he'll do if someone sees them. He calmly states he'll deal with it then, while she worries about potential rumors. He smirks, saying it's fine as long as no one is around. Stella stares back, blushing and completely flustered. As he walks away, she calls out that he's missing the point. She chases after him, demanding to know what's happening with the cycle. From a distance, a cloaked man watches them leave. Prince Zayn sips his wine, observing from his balcony. Levi and Stella walk towards the grand palace doors. Stella sighs in disappointment, realizing she failed to find a husband. Her eyes light up with determination, knowing there's still time. She resolves to do her best, imagining a potential suitor. Levi curtly tells her to stop wasting time because their ride is here. She protests his harsh tone. A new, overly eager coachman greets Lady Stella. Stella and Levi are silent as she thanks the man for waiting.
She wonders who the unfamiliar coachman is.
The man nervously insists it was no trouble at all. He urges them into the carriage, saying her mother will worry. The coachman politely gestures them towards the carriage. The carriage rumbles down a dark forested path. The coachman sighs, thinking to himself what an easy job this is. He thinks about the huge payday he'll get for leading them to waiting assassins. He grins madly, believing this will clear his debts and make his life easy. As he nears the designated spot, he prepares for the ambush. Suddenly, he's shocked to find he can no longer control the reins. A carriage speeds perilously along a cliffside at night. A driver screams, realizing the smug, red-haired woman has tricked him. Thrown from the carriage, the driver plummets towards the ravine below. As he falls, he accepts that he is about to die. He sees a vision of a man and woman, wondering if they are spirits. He recognizes the vision as a grim reaper carrying a beautiful woman. Thud. He lands hard, shocked to find himself alive and bound in magical chains. The blue-haired woman stands before him as a white-haired man asks if she's awake. The bound man stares in disbelief, questioning why they are here. He points accusingly at the woman, demanding to know why she isn't dead. He struggles against his bonds, screaming that he doesn't want to die.
Gwa! The chains yank him backward, slamming him onto the ground.
His eyes widen in terror as he questions what is happening.
Forced to kneel, the blue-haired woman coolly asks who hired him. She steps on the magical vines binding him, demanding he speak. The scene flashes back to a few moments earlier, with Stella addressing Levi in a carriage. She confirms with Levi that he's noticed something amiss as well. Levi smirks knowingly, confirming that he has, of course. Stella reveals her suspicion that their driver is hiding something.
Levi, in a different form, questions her with a sinister smile.
Leaning in, he asks what she plans to do about the situation. With a mysterious smile, Stella puts a finger to her lips. She promises to show him something interesting, their eyes meeting with shared intent. Back in the present, Stella reveals they escaped the carriage and let him take the bait. She stands confidently, stating that everything went just as she had thought. Levi looks on with a pleased, sinister grin.
As the Reaper stands by, Stella prepares to ask her question one more time. Leaning over the terrified driver, she asks who is behind this, though she already suspects. The driver trembles, already knowing who she means. He confesses that it was Lady Morgana who hired him. A small, satisfied smile plays on Stella's lips. The driver reveals he was meant to lead them to an assassin's hideout. But then, he says the carriage suddenly spun out of control. Stella's eyes widen with a shocking realization. She wonders if her stepmother was also behind the tragic accident a year ago. Levi steps forward, interrupting her thoughts with a simple, "Hey." He asks if the driver is done talking, getting her attention. Stella looks up, calling out Levi's name as he stands in his Reaper form. Levi declares the driver's usefulness is now at an end. He reaches out to destroy the man, asking if he's still needed. Stella shouts for him to wait, insisting that erasing his memory is enough. Levi dismisses her plea, telling her to spare him her kindness. She grabs his arm, protesting that he's misunderstanding her. Stella explains earnestly that she is saying this for his own sake. She pleads with him not to get used to taking lives, fearing he will be the one who gets hurt. Her words leave Levi stunned and speechless. He reminds her that he is a Reaper who has taken countless lives. He turns away from her, remaining silent. Levi quietly reflects on her concern, thinking, what a strange woman she is. As he walks away, Stella calls out, trying to stop him. A hand with thorny vines grabs the coachman's face in a powerful grip. A glowing red eye widens in sudden realization. Over the unconscious coachman, Stella and a scythe-wielding Levi stand as the driver wonders what happened. Stella gazes up at Levi in his Reaper form under the starry night sky. She smiles sweetly, letting out a small, happy hee-hee. Reaching up, she gently touches the side of his face. She tenderly strokes his hair, softly saying his name. He flinches away, embarrassed, and tells her to cut it out. Levi insists he didn't act for her, claiming she simply ruins the mood. Walking away, Stella playfully agrees with his flimsy excuse. They leave the defeated coachman and his carriage behind on the cliffside path. The scene shifts to a grand, brightly lit mansion under the moonlight. Inside, Tiara complains to her mother that Prince Zayn ignored her again. Her mother furiously throws a pillow, screaming about why Stella is still alive. Tiara desperately begs her mother to calm down. The mother seethes, realizing the assassination plan has been ruined now that Stella is alive. Tiara comforts her mother, suspecting everything changed when the new butler arrived, and her sister started acting strange. The mother glares with intense hatred, focusing her anger on that butler. Levi's face appears among the stars as a thought bubble reveals someone thinks there's something off about him. The scene transitions to Stella and Levi having tea in a beautiful garden gazebo. Stella sips her tea, contemplating everything she's thought over since last night. Staring at a reflection in her cup, she concludes her father's death was a murder. She's certain her stepmother and Tiara were behind it, regretting she didn't act sooner. Levi serves her more tea as she resolves that she can no longer afford to be patient. Levi coolly asks why she doesn't just throw them out already.
Stella explains the coachman's testimony isn't enough evidence, prompting Levi to scoff at how hopeless humans are.
Levi suggests a much simpler way, presenting a golden fork. With a sinister smile, he suggests she could simply cut off their breath. Stella recoils in shock, shouting that his idea is a crime in the human world. She sighs in exasperation, resting her chin on her hands. Suddenly, a voice urgently calls out for Lady Stella. A maid, Emma, rushes into the garden, frantically announcing a visitor. Stella calmly asks Emma why she's so flustered. Emma stammers, declaring that the situation is terrible.
The flustered maid struggles to explain what's happening.
Prince Zane appears with a charming smile, happy to see her again. He formally greets Lady Stella with a hand over his heart. Stunned, Stella blurts out, asking what he's doing here. She recognizes the third prince and is shocked to see Jill with him as well.
Emma whispers excitedly to Stella, teasing that she's already snared a royal.
Stella frantically denies it, while Emma recounts how frustrated Lady Tiara looked.
A flashback shows a carriage arriving at the mansion's grand entrance.
Tiara rushes out to greet Prince Zane as he steps from the carriage.
Overjoyed, she thanks him for coming all this way just to see her. Prince Zane looks past her with a confused expression, beginning to apologize. He gently clarifies that he came to see Lady Stella. Tiara is utterly frozen in shock by his rejection. Zane then asks the stunned Tiara for directions to Stella's room, adding insult to injury by asking who she is. He coolly finishes his question, asking, "Who exactly?" Emma finishes recounting the story of how the prince snubbed Tiara to find Stella. Stella looks on with a pensive expression. She wonders why Jill is accompanying Prince Zane.
Seeing Jill's serious expression, she wonders if he was assigned to the prince.
Prince Zane and Levi approach the gazebo. Levi observes the prince with a cool, unreadable expression. Seated at the table, Prince Zane deeply apologizes for his previous rudeness.
With a cheerful smile, Stella explains she was bedridden with an illness.
The prince smiles charmingly, glad the sleeping beauty has finally awakened.
Both Stella and Levi are visibly taken aback by his forwardness.
Jill urgently tries to get the prince's attention.
Jill covers his mouth in dismay as Levi glares and the prince smiles smugly. Stella politely remarks that showing up unannounced may not be appropriate.
The prince feigns feeling unwell and asks to be excused from her home.
He smiles slyly, promising he won't stay long. He raises a hand, innocently requesting just 1 cup of tea.
Eh? Both Stella and Levi stare in shocked disbelief. Prince Zane turns his attention to Levi, directly addressing him as butler. Levi's red eye narrows as he begins to refuse the command.
He stands firm, stating he serves only Lady Stella and cannot act without her orders.
Prince Zane smirks, clarifying the butler's statement. With a challenging look, he asks if Levi is refusing to obey a royal command. Panicked, Stella urges Levi to make the tea, worried about his disrespect to the prince.
Levi reluctantly concedes, saying he understands.
Prince Zane smiles, pleased that his power play was successful.
Levi dutifully pours a cup of tea for the prince.
As he serves the tea, Stella asks the prince what brings him here today. The prince sips his tea, telling her there's no need to rush things. He sets down his cup, suggesting it's time to talk. With a confident smile, he prepares to state his purpose for visiting. He brightly asks her, "Why don't you marry me?" The shocking proposal hangs in the air, stunning everyone present.
Jill's jaw drops in utter disbelief.
Levi flinches, his monocle nearly falling from his wide eye. Stella stares back, completely speechless at the sudden question. The tense silence continues as everyone tries to process the proposal. The prince asks for her thoughts, adding that he doesn't think it's a bad idea.
What?
Jill stammers, trying to comprehend what the prince just said.
Stella finds her voice, telling His Highness to please stop joking around.
Levi interjects, pointing out that the prince could find a partner easily. Jill agrees, stating the prince would have no trouble finding someone.
The prince recalls the many women who are interested in him.
He explains that despite his popularity, he doesn't want to be tied down.
With a finger to his lips, he reveals his primary condition for marriage.
He wants someone who wouldn't fall in love with him. What? Stella, Levi, and Jill are all completely dumbfounded.
He continues, listing his preferences for a high-ranking noble with good looks. A cute version of the prince gives her a perfect score, declaring she passes all conditions.
He clarifies his intent: a contract marriage. It would be a marriage in name only, so she has nothing to worry about. Flustered, Stella acknowledges the importance of conditions but starts to object.
Prince Zane smiles knowingly, saying he understands her hesitation. Standing behind a stunned Stella, Levi thinks he doesn't mind if she has a plaything.
Levi's red eye narrows as he watches the prince intently. Prince Zane confidently asks if a contract marriage with guaranteed freedom doesn't sound appealing. Stella flatly rejects him, stating she has no intention of marrying His Highness.
The prince insists it's just a contract marriage, but a shocked Stella declares she absolutely refuses. Surprised by her firm rejection, Jill calls out Stella's name.
Levi remains silent, his expression unreadable.
Prince Zane sips his tea with a smirk, calling her an interesting girl.
The scene transitions, showing the tranquil garden gazebo at sunset.
Announcing his work is done, Prince Zane prepares to leave.
Stella puts on a bright smile, wishing His Highness a safe trip back. She silently thinks to herself, hoping he never comes back again.
Prince Zane gives a sly, knowing smile as he departs. He walks away confident he'll receive a favorable response soon.
He leans in close, whispering a soft, "See you," to a startled Stella. He kisses her on the cheek, leaving her wide-eyed with shock.
Jill shouts in outrage, while Levi glares furiously at the prince's bold move. As the prince walks away smiling, a flustered Stella stammers, asking what he was doing. Jill rushes towards her, shouting her name in concern. He grabs her shoulders, anxiously asking if she's all right as Levi looks on. Stella frantically tries to calm Jill, reminding him that his overreaction is rude while the prince is watching. Jill protests, insisting he must wipe the spot where the prince kissed her.
Prince Zane looks back with a smirk, concluding that Stella was deceiving Jill all along. He muses on why she chooses men of such low status, like a butler and a knight. He imagines her as a confident seductress surrounded by handsome men. The prince's inner monologue concludes that the seemingly pure Stella must be quite a player. With glowing purple eyes, he believes he's seen her true self beneath the mask.
Stella continues to reason with a concerned Jill. Stella, Levi, and Emma wave goodbye as the guests depart.
Back at the gazebo, Stella sighs in exhaustion, feeling as if she's been hit by a storm. Levi smirks, teasing her that she caught quite the prey at the ball. Flustered, Stella sighs and tells him to stop it. She fumes, thinking the prince is the worst kind of playboy for proposing a contract marriage. Levi listens to her complaints with a thoughtful expression.
From a distance, a pink-haired girl watches the gazebo.
She bites a handkerchief in frustration, thinking she's the one who is supposed to be there.
Tiara seethes with jealousy, furious that her sister is getting this attention when she believes she is more worthy.